Tottenham On Tour. Tottenham On Tour.
It's Friday night with the two Brians. Tonight's episode will consist of a little bit of the Man City game. We're going to discuss yesterday's match, loss, and to some the world falling apart. And of course, we're going to talk about Wolves coming up on the weekend. Unfortunately, we do not have the second. We don't have Brian too. He's not going to like that I said that, but we got a couple of heavy hitters to fill in for him today. He's not feeling very well, so everybody send your thoughts to Brian, and hopefully he's going to feel better. He'll be with us next week. But I want to welcome Will Stewart, and I want to welcome Dan THFC. Both you guys, thank you so much for filling in. It's an absolute pleasure to have you guys here. Legends of the YouTube Spurs game. Will, how you doing tonight, brother? How's things?
I'm doing pretty good. Still unpacking, still a bit busy, but we're starting to get our bearings about us, and had some work stuff come up yesterday, so I wasn't able to do my shows yesterday, but I'm doing good.
Studio looks great, like really nice upgrade, and I'm a little jealous, but I'm definitely gonna take some advice from you on when I start to build mine in a similar fashion for sure. Danny, pleasure to have you on, brother. How you doing, mate? You good? You good this evening?
I'm doing great. Life terms, but in football terms, after that loss in the Conference League, not too great. But yeah, thanks so much, Brian, for having me.
It's a pleasure as always. So a little bit about the Man City game. We haven't really talked about it too much on this channel. I would love to just get both of you guys' opinion on just a quick rundown, not necessarily the game itself. I'll start with you, Dan. Was this a flash in the pan, lucky timing to face Man City, first game of the season scenario, or did you see something in the way we played that made you feel like there was something being built by Nuno in the squad that we have?
No, look, all the tackles that we were making, it looked like some tackles that – it looked like we were mad at Manchester City in that game. It looked like we wanted to tackle them. We wanted to mess them up. So it was a great team performance. There's not one player that you can look at and say, oh, he didn't have a good game. He didn't have a good game. They all played fantastic games. So that was a great team performance. And, yeah, we were fortunate to play them at this time where they didn't have a fit Kevin De Bruyne or they didn't have a Phil Foden. But still – even after all that, it was a fantastic shift from the boys. And I could not be saying this any prouder after that game, but come on, you Spurs.
Yeah, it was. I agree. I think there was a little bit more to it than the City issues, but I do think that the City did have issues that I said it from a few weeks back. I was like, I think this is going to be the best time to play City. Will, what were your thoughts on that game? Anything special there for you, or were you just sort of good timing, or what do you think?
I think that it was a little bit of good timing, but I do feel that it was the first time in a long time that I think that I've seen the squad play with such unity and with what looked like to be a joint purpose. Like for instance, you didn't really see that unity, on Thursday, but no, I thought it was a good performance. I didn't think City was that horrible. I mean, there were some pundits here in the United States, like ESPN, was, this isn't about how good Tottenham was, but about how horrible Man City was. I don't think that's necessarily fair. I thought City played a fairly decent game. I mean, they weren't as clinical, finishing-wise, but it's because they really don't have any.
They don't have a striker, right?
Right. So.
It comes down to the elephant in the room, right? Which is kind of a funny thing to think about, right? We played a team that still won the league last year without a striker. Played a false nine the entire season. Didn't work out really well at the beginning of the season, but eventually it paid off for them. And arguably the other teams in the league didn't play up to par either. Is it? It's to me, it's a little bit of luck, but I love the performance. I love the energy from the team. It was really nice to see. a team that looked like they were playing for each other and that they cared about a result rather than just playing, for themselves, which we'll get into a little bit with some of the players that have asked for a transfer request or aren't showed up late for training and all those other things. Yesterday we played a Portuguese team whose name I forget. If one of you guys want to fill it in, that's fine.
Pacos de Ferreira.
Thank you, Danny. Appreciate that.
I just call him PDF.
I like that. That's good. We played PDF yesterday. I'm going to use that because that's way easier. The world fell apart for Spurs fans. I don't know if this happened to you guys. I wasn't bothered too much by it, but I did see it on all of our WhatsApps because we all talk to each other in different groups. It was not a great performance, of course, but when you look at the lineup and you look at the situation, and not a single player from the previous week. Dan, what were your thoughts on the game? Like, did you melt down like everybody else, or did you recognize that, hey guys, this is 3 new players in the squad, 3 youngsters playing in the squad, a bunch of sort of players who are trying to earn their way back into the squad. It wasn't really going to be a great performance. What are your thoughts on? Did you melt down, or did you just did you understand what was happening?
At first, I actually had a meltdown, but I was screaming at the telly. Harry Winks, what are you doing? You should, even if you worked at a Tesco, you'd be a disgrace. And then after, this always happens with games. After a few hours, you kind of like step back from the result and look at the team. Oh, well, he was playing and we didn't expect him to have a good game. And I honestly feel really bad for Dane Scarlett. Dane Scarlett had absolutely nothing. Nothing. I didn't even see him touch the ball once. We had not even one shot on target against a team that I didn't even know existed until we got drawn against them.
Yeah, and I think this is something that Reload XX in the comments. Thanks for being here again, mate. Always good to see you. It's worrying if the backups can't handle a PDF. Who can they be used against? I get this argument to some extent, and I want to address it because and we'll get to your thoughts on it, Will, as well. Again, had this team played together in preseason and they had understood each other's movement off the ball and understood how to play with 3 at the back with wing backs, in this squad, I think we might have had a different situation. But for me, it was just we lost 1-0 away from home with like our C squad almost. And that's not really something to be melting down over, in my opinion. I just kind of was like, whatever. We'll probably beat them next week. We might have to throw in Sonny there, another player that's gonna get the goals. But I do agree with you on the Dane Scarlett situation was a bit disappointing because I think we all wanted to see the best of him, and the way we set up, we didn't really get it. I was hoping for a 4-3-3, and I think the 3 at the back didn't really offer a heck of a lot going forward, especially for what Scarlett is good at. Will, what were your thoughts on this comment from Reload? Do you think? Are you melting down? Did you care too much? How did you feel about post game, or even just during the game?
Unfortunately, I only was able due to work. I was only able to catch. I would think it was like the last 20 minutes of the match itself, and for whatever reason, the local guys haven't put up the replay yet. I wanted to go through and rewatch the entire thing. Did I go through a meltdown from the result? I mean, I definitely wasn't happy about it. I went more. I for the young guys and the new guys, I don't think it is necessarily a scar on their reputation and or their image. I think that they're young players who are basically our U23s and new players who haven't even had a week's worth of training yet. But if you look at people like Cameron Carter-Vickers, I'm sure he needs to probably be moved on.
A long time ago, to be fair, right? He's been on loan like 6 seasons in a row.
He's if you're playing in Europe and you can't get in to be called up for the U.S. men's national team, there's problems there, right? So Craig Berhalter's obviously seen something in him that he doesn't want. So I don't know why we would. But then also too, obviously Harry Winks, horrible performance. This should have been
awful.
This should have been his way of stepping out and saying, I'm
going to run this game. I'm going to control this game. I'm going to show the manager, the boss.
He was making so many unnecessary tackles.
And then Ben Davies playing at center back was horrible. I think a lot of the negative sides that you saw Christian Romero do. Like for me, watching back the highlights, because I can't, they, for some reason I haven't uploaded the replay yet. It seemed like the reason why Romero was kind of running around a lot was because Davies was out of position. So he was kind of like, it seemed like Romero the whole match was just kind of, doing this like he had to play center back by himself.
I would agree.
So that definitely doesn't help. I would imagine that he was probably pretty frustrated after the match. And then, Giovanni Lo Celso was worthless as always. So,
yeah, that's a tough one for me, Danny. I want your thoughts on that as well. Giovanni Lo Celso, who had an incredibly good tournament at the Copa. It's Copa, right? And he was very good. I don't know if you watched that, Will, but it's on all of
the matches. Yeah,
it's on all of our time zones. So I tuned into a couple of times, and I watched him in that Argentinian side, and he was really good. He ran that midfield, and he looked really, really comfortable. And maybe it's just the thought that he needs players around him that are reasonably good as well. And you've got Winks beside you, and Winks is giving the ball away, and Winks is making bad decisions, and the passing was really off. Like it just seemed to me they were just not at it. Not even like compared to what we saw on Sunday. I thought the attitude would be similar, and that they'd be at it, they'd be ready to play, and they'd have that energy. And I think Nuno thought the same thing. You could see how disappointed he was in his post-match interview. He just looked like he was like, me, how did this happen? This is not what I expected, and I was surprised by that.
And I appreciate his honesty. I appreciate him coming out and saying, no, we weren't good. We didn't play good.
Yeah.
Right. Instead of trying to first, the boys did what, they do, he's just like, no, wasn't good. Yeah. And then Brian Hill, for me, I know there are some people who have been like, oh, he was amazing. He had like 5 touches, and 2 of those were positive. So it's like, where are you getting this? He was great.
He was.
Yeah, cheers for what Bobby's saying in the Bob's were saying in the comments. He said Gil looking great is a bit OTT, buddy. He looked okay against an average Portuguese team, in my opinion. I think what people liked about what they saw from Gil was what he's capable of doing, or the potential that's there, and I think that's arguably what the reason why we brought him in the first place. Of course, potential isn't what we need. We need actual players who can play at the top level right away, right now. The league's, we're second game of the season coming up.
Speaking of potential.
Yeah. What's that, Danny?
Speaking of potential, we're about to sign Sar.
Oh yeah, I saw that, and that's another one that we're going to send him out on loan.
That's worthless. To me, that's worthless.
Yeah, I mean, I get
do it if you want to do it, but I mean, it doesn't help us now. Like you can't do that in lieu of you. If you're using that as an excuse to say, the window was great, no, right? Because we signed 1 player this season that can affect our first team.
Yeah, I mean, I think if anybody who thinks that we've had a good window so far isn't really paying attention or doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about, excuse me. But it's the reality. Like we haven't had a good window at all. We've had some good players come in. Of course, Romero's a wonderful player. That's a great signing, but we needed 2 or 3 more of those level of signing to put ourselves in a position. We're not better than we were last season, and that's the point of a transfer window. We're actually probably
worse,
around the same or a little bit worse. Now, the reason I'd say around the same is because I actually think our manager in this case is going to get more out of this squad than our manager did at this time last season, despite Jose having a good start. The good start was, I think, related to other things rather than him being as good as he is. But I like the potential for where we're going to be in a couple of these seasons, and I like that they're looking at that. I think that's positive, but we really need to figure out how to get rid of 2 more players. Like Winks has got to go, Sergio Aurier's got to go. Like those players have to go. Musa Sissoko now, when Ndombele's asked to be transferred out of the club. None of those players, featured other than Winks yesterday in just a really drab game. So it's not as good as anybody who thinks saying it's good. It's not good. It's not good at all. It is very average. There's still 2 weeks left, so there's still some time to change that. I wish they had gotten stuff done sooner, but it is a tough window considering the situation with COVID and the market, and you got to sell players before you can buy players in the situation, and we haven't really done enough of that. Nobody wants our players, unfortunately, which is probably the biggest problem, right? Nobody wants to buy Winks. Nobody wants to buy Sissoko. Nobody wants to buy Aurier. These are all players that have shown to be not useful in a top level squad. So it's a difficult situation. We got a question here from Bobby that I'd like to ask the panel, all of us. Do not need a young YouTube player who's going to be loaned back. Putting aside how the players turned out, how would you compare last season's transfer window to this season's transfer window? It's a good question. I'll start with you, Will, on that. What are your thoughts on last season's and this season's, but preseason, before the season, not the January one?
I right now, as it stands, right. So, like, I've always kind of said that for me, it doesn't matter whether it happens the last, deadline day or whether it happens the first day of the transfer window. I mean, obviously, earlier is better than later, but for me, all I care about is getting the players in, and even saying that. Last year's transfer window was far better than this year's transfer window. We brought in a lot of players who impacted our starting 11. We had Bale, Reguilon, Højbjerg, even Rodin, started for the first team and had good performances when he came into the side. And right now, all we have is Romero, and we haven't seen him yet, right? So,
Yeah.
Yeah, really. And sorry, Daniel, I'll get your thoughts on this as well. What do you think in comparing the two windows? I think Will's spot on. I mean, it's pretty easy to see it, but what are your thoughts?
Last transfer window, how you looked at it, it was actually a pretty good transfer window. I say the only thing it was missing was Skriniar, and then it would have been a great transfer window. But so far this transfer window looked promising in the beginning, but now it's starting to fall apart. We still need a striker. We need one more center back, I'd say, a right back. It's not, the team is not, we don't have a complete team yet. So I think we still have work to do. Not too much long left in the transfer window, though. So it's going to be, it's worrying. It really is worrying.
Yeah, I want to address something about this as well. And I think, I know it's probably not a popular opinion, but it's my opinion nonetheless. There is the obvious scenario that Spurs fans, and not even just Spurs fans, but football fans in general, melt down when the things that they want to happen don't happen. We all knew that this rebuild, and it is a rebuild, was going to take more than one window. In the first window post COVID, or not even, because it's not even over yet, but sort of after we know that the market's shifted considerably and it's going to be a lot harder to do it. Is there a reason? And and this is why my opinion is probably a little bit unpopular. I'm willing to be a bit more patient about it than I probably would be otherwise. I don't expect us to get all those players in and all those players out that we want, because that's really hard to do in a short space of time. Do you guys think I'm nuts?
No, I don't necessarily think you're nuts. For me, it's more of I wanted three, right? So yeah. Two center backs and a right winger is, two center backs and a player. It doesn't necessarily have to be a right winger, but a player who brings in at least 10 goals or 10 attacking returns a season to effectively try and make up for the loss of Gareth Bale. Because for me personally, especially with all that's going on, I don't see Harry Kane producing in the way that he did before. And in fact, I almost see it as kind of a struggle, like I'm drawing a blank right now for some reason. That what's his name had with Alex Ferguson when after he requested a couple times.
Wayne Rooney
to leave. Yeah, Wayne Rooney.
Mm-hmm.
I see it kind of going that direction. And
yeah. It's such a strange situation with Harry. He's back in training. He's trained a lot, since he's come back. Apparently, in a way that has been professional, as you'd expect him to be, because he is a professional, or at least he was acting like one previous to a few weeks ago. I don't know, the Harry Kane situation. There's a comment here. Where is it? And it's from Hal. What's up, Hal Perry? Welcome to the show. Doesn't the Kane thing cloud up this window and the progress? I think it does. I mean, I think my thought on this is the club are probably waiting for this to be sorted one way or the other to make a determination on what we do in the window. Dan, do you think that the Kane thing is not only clouding it up, but it's stopping us from doing the things that we need to do because of not knowing if we've got the money or not, or not knowing what positions we need to sort out, which would obviously be the first one would be a striker, which we need anyway as a second striker. But is this stopping us from doing what we should be? Is that something you'd consider, or do you think that's what's happening?
this Harry Kane situation sums up what being a Tottenham fan is. One day you hear he's going to stay at Tottenham, and then the next day you hear that he wants to leave in Manchester City or is extremely confident in keeping him. You're not really sure what's going to happen. But I was watching the Amazon documentary a few days ago, and when I spotted this interview that they had with Harry Kane asking about when Eriksen left, and it was really interesting because in the interview he said it's not as simple as, oh, you want to go, you can go. No, it's a lot more complicated than that. And now, at this moment in time, that was 2 years ago. At this moment in time, he wants to leave for way less than his price. I put a tweet out on it. You could go and check it out. It's the recording of the interview. It was like a 50-second interview of them asking him about the Christian Eriksen, and it was just unbelievable what his answer was. And oh well, it's football. It's the business of football. He wanted to leave, and I don't blame him for trying to. It's like almost like if he's talking about his transfer.
Right. I think I saw your tweet on that actually. Now that you mentioned it. Yeah.
But it's a strange one with Harry Kane. I'm not really sure. But another thing is, I don't think this should happen anymore. If he leaves, then we're not gonna have any time to bring in anybody. I saw somebody talking. I didn't agree with them, but they said Lewandowski wants to leave Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
I don't think we have a chance of signing him, but
no.
We try to sign Messi, so whatever.
Yeah, if that was true. I mean, a lot of that stuff I don't believe. I think, well, what are your thoughts on the Harry Kane situation and how it's affecting our ability to get anything else over the line? Are we waiting on that money? Is it a scenario where here's my thoughts before I get your thoughts. My thoughts is that the Harry Kane situation, from a Levy perspective, he's like, it's not happening anymore. I'm not doing it. They've not offered us enough money, and now we're in a scenario where we don't have enough time. And so that means you can chuck any number at me right now, and I'm going to say no, which is what apparently he's been doing, according to Fabrizio Romano, is that he's basically just saying no to everything because he's not. It's like, what's the point? I can't replace that player at this point. So he's moved on, and Harry Kane, as far as he's concerned, is with us for the next season. What are your thoughts? Is that something you think is happening? Have we made the decision now that it's over? Screw you, City, essentially, and moved on from it, and Harry Kane's going to be a Spurs player this season?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that that's true. And the reason why I think that's true is because if Harry Kane was going, I think you would see more moves in the transfer window with conviction.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we maybe earlier on, like a week, maybe 2 weeks ago, started kind of, I guess you could say, probing to see.
Yeah, Martinez links,
right.
and the Halovic links as well. They were there like pretty strongly, and then they disappeared. Right.
Right. So like if those had gone through, then I could say that you could probably say with a high degree of confidence that Harry Kane's most likely moving on this season. The fact that those have fallen through and there's no other credible links that are going on now to that level, I would say that it's probably pretty confident that Daniel Levy is not taking offers for Harry Kane this summer.
Yeah, he's done with it essentially, right? Yeah. Danny, would you agree? He's basically, Levy's decided, you know what, we don't have enough time. That it's really what it comes down to. Had City offered the 150 million valuation or whatever it is that Levy's put it at, had City initially come in with that offer, do you think he would have just taken it and we would have moved on because we would have had that money to spend and we would have had time to spend it? I think that's what I'm seeing. But what are your thoughts, Dan?
I think maybe because at that point in time, there was more strikers available to bring in the beginning of the transfer window. Mm-hmm. Now there's not enough time. There's barely any strikers. The other day, I think it was Vlahovic who it was closed, that deal. But look, it really, I think it's just done. He's
gone to Madrid, Atletico Madrid now, right? Like that happened earlier today, I think. Vlahovic, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I think I read that.
I wasn't too much on Twitter today in the morning, so I might have missed that. But I think there should be a deadline.
Yeah.
Every club does it. They tell you, every big club does it. They tell you could get him from this date to this date. After that, you cannot get him, except for Tottenham Hotspur. And that's why I would say, if we want to be a big club, we have to start acting like one. Why are we not telling Manchester City, well, you have this amount of time, because we don't want to be chasing around last day, last minute transfer. Oh, last minute, please come to Tottenham. We desperately need you. And then we end up getting a part two of Carlos Vinicius.
Dan, I think that's actually what's happened. I just think that the club doesn't tell us. anything, and because Levy's so private. I think he probably has told City, here's the price. You don't come into it. Come into it for the time that it's required from my perspective. Deal's done, and I think that's what we're seeing at the moment. I think the deal's done, so I think it's likely the case. All right, so let's get into the Wolves game at the weekend, and I want to talk about because we're talking about Harry Kane. Will, does Harry Kane, is he in the lineup at least? Is he on the bench? Do you think he's in that squad on Saturday or on Sunday?
I think it's hard. It's hard to determine that right now. I mean, he hasn't had any, match experience to bring his fitness back up to that level. I would assume maybe he's on the bench. Do I think that he starts? Probably not. I would be surprised. I'll be surprised if he starts the match on the weekend. I was a little disappointed that he wasn't given an opportunity to play on Thursday. I think that would have been a good time.
I think they should have shipped him out to Portugal and just had him play in that game. That would have been
showed him that he's part of the B team.
Yeah, you're part of the squad, and we need you in our squad, and we need you to this is part of your job. You work for Tottenham Hotspur. Yeah. You have a contract. You're playing. That. That should have been. That would have been a really strong statement from the board, from Levy, from the manager, from the club itself, just saying here's what's happening, and also to say to City, fuck off. We're done with you. We don't need you to coming at us anymore. He's playing
beyond that. Even beyond that, I mean, even if he's going to City, now I understand that if he's not fit or something, there's a chance of injury or something like that. But you start him, give him 45 minutes to get some legs in. I mean, even for City, that shouldn't have been if he is going or whatever. It shouldn't have been something. I mean, because now he's going to take a long time to get fit and bed in for City as well, right? I mean, so he hasn't played. He hasn't even really trained that much. He hasn't even trained with the squad. He's trained individually for the last week or so. So I don't know. I think it's a bit odd. I don't think it's I wouldn't have done it for as a gotcha or a punishment. Simply as a training, as a just a fitness method.
Well, a fitness issue for sure. I also think it sends a bit of a message, and maybe that isn't the right way to do it. But I think it does to some extent. But I agree. More than anything, he needs to get match fit, and this is an opportunity to play maybe not 90 minutes, but maybe play 60, 65 minutes, get something into his legs because he's been on holiday for as long as he has, and might help him out. What do you think? Danny, you were pointing down at the question below, and I think it's an interesting question. I think this would be more interesting to see what happens at home, and we might not see it this weekend. But do you think if he gets booed if he plays and he stays, do you think that's going to happen?
I don't think it would be a problem against Wolves because obviously it's an away game.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the Wolves fans would boo at him, but when he plays at home, it will be a question. They were singing the chant, "Are you watching? Are you watching Harry Kane?" So I honestly think that they would. But it depends because if he comes on and scores a hat trick, they wouldn't boo him. But if he starts. I think it might have been Will that said it one time. But if for the City game that if he played and then he came off, had a terrible performance, then the fans would boo him. And I agree with that. But I just want some clarity about the situation. I want to know what's going on in my club. I'm confused. I'm bamboozled. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. It's a huge confusion. And Wesley, sadly, Brian Dago is a little bit ill.
Yeah, he's not feeling well. It's Wesley. Sorry. So thanks for being here, but I got two people to fill in for Brian, and two heavyweights. So I thought that might be enough to make people feel better about it. But where's Ndombele is another question, and I think we all know now because in the last few hours it's come out that he's put in a transfer request. So arguably
he was training today.
Was he? Yeah. I don't think we'll ever see him in a Spurs shirt again. If I'm honest, I think he's done.
We saw him today.
Really? Did you? You saw him just some videos of him training
and photos and videos and a whole montage of the training. He was hugging Son. He was smiling, laughing. I was like, wait, that's not what they're telling me in Twitter.
It's confusing.
It's really confusing.
Did he ask for a transfer request, or is that
no? And Serge Aurier too. Serge Aurier too is just like laughing, playing with Son. And Tottenham put a post. all smiles, Tottenham, and then he was like hugging Son and smiling. I don't know if you saw the tweet or anything. He was actually training today, and he was enjoying it. I'm not sure what's going on behind the scenes, but
Oh man, like you just said, Dan, the fact that it's so vague and we have really zero idea what's like really going on is incredibly frustrating. Will, did you see that he was training today? And my understanding was he put in a transfer request. I don't really know what to believe anymore.
Yes, I think it was the transfer request rumor happened after Nuno's press conference.
After his press conference, okay.
Yes. So that was Nuno basically said, you're not going to see him, this weekend. And then after
I remember that. Yeah.
So it is very possible that he was training today because I'm sure they train earlier in the day when, they're doing press conferences or before they do the press conference. So I think both could be true. And if you look at it progressively in the progression of how those events happen, but
right.
I just don't think that. I'm a bit disappointed, to be honest with you. I think Ndombele was a player who had a lot of potential, and it's
such a waste, isn't it?
Yeah, it's sad.
yeah.
Out of all of the players to go this window, and so I understand it. If he's not being played and he wants to go somewhere else where he can be played, it's hard to know who's at fault in this situation. I mean, I do think that he has a bit of a poor attitude. I think that's fairly common with. And I'm not doing this to stereotype French players, but it just seems to be the trend that a lot of French internationals tend to have issues. Not all, of course. I mean, we have Hugo Lloris, who's been great, but
professional, yeah.
Yeah, they're. It just kind of seems, Rabiot and Mbappe and Ndombele and even Mr. Sissoko's been a fairly. He's been
decent,
a crap footballer, but a good professional, right? So
yep,
that we know of anyway. So I wouldn't say that it's all French internationals, but it just seems to kind of be a trend. Yeah,
for sure. I think that's true to some extent. I think it's also like an age group, like the younger players, the ones who are coming through. There's a different. We talk about that, like the old school players are different. I think there's some truth to it. I think we have to be honest about it. I think that there is something
differences.
Yeah, generations. It is a thing, right? So we won't see Ndombele this game on Sunday. We will potentially see Kane on the bench. I actually think Kane will be on the bench. I think he'll start with the same starting 11. Dan, what are your thoughts on the starting 11? Does he play the same 11 players that played against City last week and trust them? And then if we have some players on the bench that could come on like a Harry Kane and maybe an Ndombele if he's in the shirt to affect the game. What are your thoughts on the starting 11?
Well, I think it's pretty much confirmed that Ndombele won't play. Kane is the real question, though. Will he play? I'm not sure. Maybe he'll start on the bench. Try to make an impact. I think he'll go with a similar lineup against like the one that he played against City. Maybe, I think Tanganga's got to play. Tanganga's definitely got to play.
Mm-hmm.
Skip Højbjerg, Reguilon. I'm not sure about the center back partnership though. That's the only thing
I don't think Romero's quite ready yet. I think we're going to see Sanchez and Dyer again. Normally that would terrify me, but it played so well last week.
I want to see Romero with a good center back partnership. Because imagine getting all this love from Tottenham fans. We're all loving him, paying 45 mil for him, and then playing against your first game against Pacos Ferreras with Cameron Carter-Vickers.
Yeah.
He's trying to play the offside trap. Carter-Vickers all the way in. Messing up the offside.
Six yards the other way. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I want to see him with someone other than Cameron Carter-Vickers.
Yeah, I do too. I don't think he'll have enough in him. Considering his fitness yesterday, at the end of the game, he looked shattered. Now, and to be fair, that's probably part of what you're saying is that he was shattered because he had to do so much to make up for the ridiculousness that is Cameron Carter-Vickers. Carter-Vickers is weird because he looked reasonably good, and I know that it's preseason, and that's kind of always the case with players. They look reasonably good in preseason, at least from in a headspace wise. He looked like he knew what he was doing or knew what he was trying to do. Yesterday, he was just a bloody mess. He was everywhere. It was hard to watch.
Someone who I've got to give props to in the defense of Ryan Sessegnon.
Yeah, I thought his first half wasn't great, but I think he dealt with it in the second half. I think he improved.
There was There was one where he did this massive tackle. There was a player 1-on-1, and he just went in, cleared the ball. Well, he made one tackle first, and then it just bounced away, and then he just cleared in the second one. I didn't think he was.
I wonder if he's. I mean, you've got 3 players in that position now. At least we have some depth in it, including Davies. But he's not going to start over Reguilon. Reguilon's always going to get that first choice in that position, at least in the league.
And I think that too. Like, I mean, Hill set him up on a plate.
Yeah, he did.
He really kind of bottled it. You know what I mean? And whereas I think Reguilon probably would have put that away. You know.
Yeah, it was right to his feet, and it was a really nice play from Hill. That was probably for me our best chance, and it came in like the first 5 minutes, and it was a bit frustrating. Will, do you see a 4-3-3 again against Wolves? Is he going to play the same shape, or we played 3 at the back with wing backs yesterday? Is that something you see him doing with that starting 11, or do you think we're going to stay where we are?
Well, I mean, if you really. I think that going with 3 in the back, personally, I prefer the 3 at the back. I think it can play it attackingly, and if you kind of want to bring Romero in and make him more comfortable, then you put Dyer and Sanchez alongside of him, and kind of have Højbjerg kind of be that holding midfielder, have Dele do box to box, and then you can get away with maybe even playing like Lucas Moura as a right wing back, which is kind of what he played against City. To be honest, it was almost like we were playing a false 3-5-2. How deep with Tanganga kind of being that right center back, even though he was technically a fullback, because Lucas Moura was playing quite deep. His average position was more towards the midfield line than it was, forward and attacking. So, I mean, if you were to have Reguilon and Moura kind of playing that wing back position with, Son and Bergwijn up top, or Son and somebody else with Dele kind of sitting there in behind, you could do a.
I'm getting a little bit of disconnection from you from an internet perspective. Yeah, we've lost Will for a minute. Maybe I just want to check your.
I still have him on.
Yeah. It might be because we've got too many. Hey, Cody, what's up, buddy? Welcome to the show.
I haven't lost it here. It might be.
It might be me because
your resolution has dropped significantly since we started.
Yeah, so Cody, as much as I need you here or want you here, I might have to ask you to go because my wife
him being here won't affect the stream because his process is online. It has nothing to do with your connection.
Yeah, well, mine hasn't changed at all. I still got the same. Anyway, you know what? We're going to try it. We'll see how long it lasts. If it goes, it goes. It's a pleasure to have you, Cody. Welcome to the show. Glad you're here. We've been chatting about what we expect to see against Wolves. I'm sure you've been listening. Any thoughts on what you'd expect to see shape-wise? 4-3-3 again, similar to what we did at City. Are we gonna see 3 at the back with Romero playing? Does Harry Kane make the bench? Answer all those questions all at once.
I can answer them in one fell swoop. I think we see exactly what we saw against Manchester City. And the reason, like when you talk about Romero, I think he picked up a bit of a knock there. He was limping around, and of course we know that he came in with a little bit of a knee injury. So I don't think that they would risk throwing him in there, especially the way that Sanchez and Dyer performed so well last Sunday. As far as Kane, I know you guys were talking about him maybe missing an opportunity to gain some fitness by going to Portugal and being thrown in there, but I don't think that this is over between us and Manchester City as far as Harry Kane. Like, if they come in with the money that Daniel Levy is demanding, I think he's gone still. So I don't think that there's any interest on either side of risking Harry Kane being injured. I think maybe what happens is he makes the bench against Wolves, especially since this is at the Molineux and not at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But I don't think we see him play. Not at all. And then we won't see him next Thursday either. Maybe, and by the time next Thursday comes and goes, if there isn't like a reasonable offer, you might see him come in for the next Premier League game.
I'm just trying to move my computer around, guys. See if I can get a better signal. Sorry about that. Yeah, I think that's a good shout. I do think it's an interesting one. So 4-3-3, same thing. Will, are you on the same page with the 4-3-3? You want to see a 3 at the back, but what do you think Nuno's going to do?
Yeah, I mean, there were some reports today that we wanted to sign another center back because Nuno wanted to go back to three at the back. I think it just depends on what he eventually decides to do. I mean, right now I don't know enough about what Nuno's thinking, and we haven't seen a whole lot of it. We haven't played a three at the back except for Thursday, and that obviously didn't work out very well. So, it's something that maybe necessarily we'll have to, figure out. But
Yeah, sorry, I'm just doing awkward things with my computer right now to try to get better signal. I'm in Vankleek Hill, which is an hour outside of Ottawa, in the middle of nowhere, with Wi-Fi that isn't great.
You got to get the bunny ears just right.
Right?
You know?
I'm like, just put the computer on my head and see what happens.
Because I just ran a test and I'm running 400 megabytes per second up and down, so I'm good.
I think it's improved considerably now that I've done this with my computer, though. I'm just going to aim it like this. Sorry, folks, my face looks a little bit strange. But anyway, I'll try to get focused again here. Hopefully it stays functional. If not, we'll have to end the show a bit early. But Danny, what were your thoughts on the shape? Do you expect a 4-3-3? Do you expect a 3 at the back? Is he going to stick with the same 11?
I think for the Pacos game it was different. We had a few players that would benefit more from a 3 at the back. But I think for Wolves the more reasonable thing would be to go with 4 at the back. It would just be reasonable. Why would you try and fix something that's not broken? It worked against City. Might be a little bit of a worry the fact that Nuno. He might have something in this game since it's his old club, and he might be like thinking about something in the background, something that he wants to change up just because it's his old club. But when he left Wolves, he left on a good way. He left. The fans loved him. The club still loved him after everything. It wasn't like he left on a sour relationship. So I think it's going to be an interesting game versus Wolves. The lineup, I think it should be 4-3-3. But let's see what happens. And it's going to be a great experience for me because it's going to be my first ever game, watching it with Tottenham fans, in an Irish pub. So it's going to be entertaining.
Danny, that's exciting. What pub are you going to? You're down in Florida, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I think it's called the Mickey Byron's Club. I'll look up the name right now and I'll tell you better because I've never been there before, so I'm not really too sure about it.
Did you get old enough to go? Is that what happened?
No, there's not really an age. It's not really like it's like a restaurant. It's called a pub, but it's like it's called the Mickey Byron's Irish pub.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, that'll be fun for you, mate. That'll be exciting to watch. It's always fun to do it with Spurs fans. Speaking of that, Cody, I know you're not on camera at the moment. How was it at the Scotland Yard? Are you able to answer right now?
Question? No. I don't think my wife wants to be on camera right now because she's in her pajamas. So
hey, Cody's wife, how's it going?
She can't hear you, but I'll let her know that Brian says you're looking quite nice.
I didn't say that. You perf. What's going on?
Oh, she says, piss off, Brian Ireland.
That's accurate. That's the right thing to say.
Now she's mad at me for saying that. You want to show your face on YouTube? No, okay.
Hello, Cody's wife.
Say piss off. That's Melissa Mack. No, it's not. But anyway, what was the actual question? Scotland Yard. You know what? It's beautiful in there. I got there about 10:15, so Brian Daigle was waiting for me at the door, and I got to go in and help him decorate and everything. And I got to meet Sean Welburn in person and Abdul Karim and a few of the other people. What's the guy's name that runs Toronto Spurs? Matt?
Yeah, Matt. Yeah.
Matt. Got to meet Matt, and of course the game was amazing. Like finally being able to turn around and give someone a high five when we score, and and just go nuts with people and not look ridiculous because I'm cheering by myself. It was awesome. It was one of the best days that I've had for sure since the pandemic started. But even as a Tottenham supporter, it was one of the best days that I've
Had
had.
had you not been with Spurs fans for a game before? Was that the first time, or
First time meeting a Tottenham fan in the flesh.
wow, really? That's amazing. And it was
Yeah.
Brian Daigle too. You got to love that. And of course, Hal Perry was there, and there was a few others
Yeah.
that Sean and yeah, fantastic stuff. That's great. It's such a difference when you're with Spurs fans and you get to throw your limbs around together. So I'm glad you guys got to enjoy that. And Dan, you'll see, you'll hopefully we get a win against Wolves.
I've watched with a Spurs fan, but it was just one, and we were watching in my living room on the TV. It's not going to be the same. It's going to be a way better.
Yeah, it's not as fun as being with a crew, right?
Yeah.
You got a bunch of people. The Scotland Yard is great, and there's the Done Right in Toronto as well, which is in the West End bar, and it's similar. There's these moments, especially when that goal, I'm sure you felt it, Cody, when the goal was scored, and everybody just loses it. It just limbs everywhere, right? It's just called limbs. Everybody is losing their shit. Absolutely fantastic. What an amazing moment. Now, on that note, we've got Wolves at the weekend. This is Nuno's return to his old backyard. Do you think? I'll start with you, Dan. Do you think Nuno's going to have a bit of an advantage in this situation because it's basically the same team, right? There's a couple players who've come in and a couple players who've gone, but it's his Wolves. I don't know if you guys watched the game that they played. They won 1-0. Last weekend. They look like they're playing the same style too. It looks like a very similar setup, and not much difference between what Nuno was doing and what the new manager is doing. Do you think we got an advantage because of Nuno, or do you think him going back to his old stomping grounds is going to be a challenge for him?
Well, every game in the Premier League is going to be a challenge. That's just the sense of it. It's the hardest league in the world.
They lost 1-0, by the way, is what I meant to say. So
yeah.
Thanks, Reload, for correcting me.
But they easily could have won. Adama Traore was not with his shooting boots. It's not like he ever has shooting boots. He dribbled. He was good. Other than shooting, he missed a lot of opportunities. So I'm excited. It's going to be an entertaining game. I can already tell because Wolves is a team that likes to attack. Wolves is a team that entertains me. Like, they may not be the best team in the world, but they entertain.
I always found them to be really consistent and solid.
Yeah.
You knew what to expect, and they'd probably play basically the same way each week. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but it was very consistent. And I think that's what Nuno brought to that side. I'm hoping he brings that to us as well, because something we desperately need. Will, what are your thoughts on the weekend? Does Nuno have an advantage? Do you think this is something that he should be able to get one over on his old club, and how do you think he'll be received?
I mean, sometimes it can be an advantage. Sometimes it can be a disadvantage as well, because you know too much, right? So you try to adjust and shift yourself in a manner that maybe isn't proper or beneficial to you. I think we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, I'll be curious to see how their fans react to him and how, he kind of goes about setting it up. Because, I mean, they have a new coach, too. They're kind of running a new system. I don't know if they made a whole lot of signings. I know they made a few, but I think it'll be interesting to watch, to see for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Cody, what are your thoughts on Nuno going back to his old team, and how do you see this panning out on the weekend? Do you think we've got an advantage? Do you think Spurs are going to play? It's going to be a similar approach than last week. Obviously it's going to be a bit different because we're going to have more of the ball. But what are your thoughts on what you expect to see at the weekend?
Well, there's a couple of different ways you could look at it. I mean, on one hand, we should have the advantage because we have a better team, we have better players. But on the other hand, I think you saw the difference. I mean, not like we played the same team on Thursday. I mean, it was 11 changes, but you saw the difference in energy and adrenaline that we lost by not having 60,000 screaming fans. So, and Wolves are going to be going from a hostile environment at Leicester to being in front of the home fans at the Molineux. So, strategically and tactically, I don't think that we have necessarily an upper hand. The players will be very familiar with Nuno's tactics, and they'll be prepared with what he wants to bring. And as far as like the fan reaction, I think Nuno will get a very warm reaction. Even
they love him, as far as I can tell, and still do, right? Like that seems to be the case.
I think you could probably draw a line somewhere down the middle, like either 60-40 or 55-45 in terms of the fans who wanted him to go and the fans who wanted him to stay. But regardless, anyone that wanted him to go will still have respect for what this man did for that.
What he was able to do, yeah.
Team. Let's not forget he oversaw their promotion. He got them into Europe 2 years running. Yes, you might describe the football that they were playing, especially last year, as terrorist football. But I don't think that you'll hear. I don't think people are going to have any ill will towards Nuno. Even the people that wanted to see him go, it's not like he's their problem anymore. So I expect a very warm welcome, followed by a hostile and difficult environment for our players to manage.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think he'll get a massive hand when he shows up, and there'll be some waving, and there'll be some, pageantry, and the respect for him and what he had done for the club, and just like I think like it's well put. He did what he did, but it was the last season wasn't great. He had a bunch of injury issues. It was sort of a time to move on for both him and the club, and I think they were all happy with the way it turned out. Score predictions here. Do you guys think? I don't need specific numbers unless you want to give them. I'm happy to get them from you as well. But do you see us scoring more goals, or because Nuno was never known for a high scoring? Like the Wolves weren't a high scoring team. I always whenever I was doing my other podcast, it was always Wolves 1-0. It was always like a 1-0 win. That was kind of the thing that they did on a regular basis. They were resolute. They were really compact. They kept things really tight. And then at the end of the game, they'd score something in the 80th minute, 90th minute, get their 1-0 win and move on. And they did it a lot. It was very common for Wolves. Do you see a little bit more ambition from the club or from the team to get some more goals and to maybe 2-0, 3-0, or are we going to see another tight, really compact performance from Spurs? I'll start with you, Will. What are your thoughts on what you expect to see from the way we play and from a scoreline perspective?
Scoreline, I don't see a lot of. I don't think we have a lot of players who can score a lot of goals.
That's my worry too. Yeah.
Son. Son did have quite a bit of opportunities against City. I think it's going to be easier to get those opportunities against Wolves. So I would probably say, I would say it would be reasonable to say Son ends up with a brace in a 2-0 win. I think that as Son gets more and more confident, because he is a bit of a confidence player,
streaky player for sure, runs on form, absolutely.
Yeah, that will increase. The worry is that if he isn't in form, where are those other goals going to come from? I would see it maybe coming from a set piece, maybe grabbing a header or two from a corner. And
maybe Bergwijn starts to get off the mark.
Bergwijn could get one, Mora could get one, but I don't see them unless the opportunities are there for them significantly. I don't see a very high scoring. I don't see any 5. 5.
Yeah, it's not like a 3-1, 4-2 scenario. It's more of it's going to be tight from both teams, I think. Danny, what's your thoughts on scoreline and sort of prediction of how you'll see us play with the ball? I think that's the thing that we haven't really seen a ton of yet because of the teams we played in preseason, and of course you can't really count what happened on Thursday. We're going to have more of the ball in this game. What is Nuno going to play like with more of the ball? He didn't have that with Wolves. He now has the players to have that. What do you expect to see from a scoreline perspective and how we'll play with more of the ball?
I think we'll see a lot more players showing what they've got than what we saw against City. I think Reguilon is going to have a good game because of the fact that he said he's going to have a lot more of the ball. I think Reguilon strives when he has more of the ball.
Yeah, I agree.
He needs those opportunities to. I know he has a cross on him. When Reguilon wants the ball to go to the box, he'll put it right in the penalty spot on the platter for you. The only question is if anybody can put it in the back of the net because there's no Harry Kane. But I'm going with a boring result, but a very common one, it seems, amongst us Tottenham fans. I'm saying 2-0 to Tottenham.
2-0, nice. I'll take that, man. 2-0 is great. Cody, what are your thoughts on the scoreline? Do you see it being open? Do you see Spurs being able to get some goals from other places other than Heung-min Son? No Harry Kane unless he ends up coming off the bench potentially. What are your thoughts on what we'll see on Sunday?
Well, I'm not going to predict anything other than a Tottenham win, But I will say that it wouldn't surprise me if this ended in something like a 1-1 draw, because, we saw that when you have two teams that have a gap in quality, like we saw on Sunday between Tottenham and Manchester City, a rocking, loud, full stadium can be the difference. So
Yeah.
whether that's enough to propel a side who I want to respect Wolves, but let's face it, on paper we have them euchred basically.
Should be
But
comfortable, right? Like we should be able to get
we
through this game
you would
with the
say
quality
that.
we have.
You would say that, but like you said at the outset, this is basically the same side that we've become accustomed to over the last couple of seasons. And when have we ever just walked them over? I know that Nuno is gone, but it doesn't really matter. So I'll predict a 2-1 Tottenham win. I don't think we'll be able to keep them off the score sheet personally, especially just with being their home opener. And this is the first time since February of 2020 that Wolves are going to be playing in front of a full stadium of supporters. So I wouldn't be surprised if we ended up in a draw, but I'll predict a 2-1 win.
Nice. I'm gonna be very boring and just pick another 1-0 draw, or 1-0 win. I think Spurs will do the same thing, but with this case, they'll have more chances, but won't be able to finish because we don't have the players to do it. But I still think we'll get the result, and I think we're good enough to do so. We're almost at an hour, guys, and I said it was going to be a tight show, so we're going to keep it that way. I just want to go around the horn quickly. I'll start with you, Dan. Tell everybody where they can see you, your own channel, and then we have a show that we're about to release next week, our first episode. Tell everybody about your own channel and then the show that we're going to be doing on our channel.
Well, my channel is Dan THFC. I upload pretty much daily now, Tottenham content. I do a segment where I talk about football in general, so if that's what you like to hear, please, and I'd be definitely appreciate if you could go out to my channel and subscribe. We started a new one now.
Dan's podcast is great. I've been on there a couple times. Always really great. It always has some fun stuff to chat about too. So make sure you check it out.
Yeah, I changed my channel as well now. So now I could do live stream. So it would be better for the viewers. So if you wanna see that, make sure you go over to check out Dan THFC. But another thing is, as Brian said, we have a show in the works. And we've talked about it on a few streams. But it's gonna be the first episode of The Final Whistle. It's gonna be this Monday. It's going to be a recorded show, so it's not going to be live. Right before my podcast goes live. So it's going to be just talking about the refereeing decisions in the Tottenham game and the Wolves game, and then we'll talk about any other controversial decisions in the rest of the Premier League games. If there is one that's really controversial, then that's what we'll talk about. But I'm really looking forward to the show. I don't know if you guys know, but I'm actually licensed as a referee here in the United States. So I guess I could say I have some experience with refereeing, but yeah, if you're interested in that, Monday.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Really looking forward to it. We're going to try to, this show is going to be give a different perspective of what people see, and from a referee's perspective is something we don't get to see a lot of, and we're looking forward to doing that. So cheers, Danny, and looking forward to Mondays recording your podcast as well. Cody Mack, everybody knows you, but we'd love to hear more about where you're from and what you're doing. I know you and Will both are got a lot of stuff coming up. So tell us your Twitter and anything else you want to chat about.
Yeah, you can subscribe to Twitter, or not subscribe, but follow me on Twitter at CoMacDude. And Will and I are doing the Bald and Bearded Tottenham Boys show, which is always fun and entertaining. And we also try and talk about football. But
you rarely get there, but when you do, it's really good content.
Yeah. I am going back to work next month at some point, so whether we do shorter episodes or change the time slot, we'll have to figure that out. We haven't really discussed that at length, but for the rest of the month, we'll be doing Tuesdays at 1:30 New York time, 6:30 GMT. And then other than that, you'll just see me where you see me. I just try and sneak as much time on screen as I can talking about Spurs, because we're all obsessed and we can't quit it, so we might as well talk about it and commiserate.
Absolutely. You can never get enough of Cody Mack, and his Twitter is hilarious and just super, super fun. I've, as you know, Cody, because of this new channel, I'm now on Twitter a lot, and I always go to yours to what's Cody saying today, because it's always either hilarious or informative. So make sure you check that out, folks. Will Stewart, again, thank you for coming on, brother. I really appreciate you being here. Your setup looks ridiculous. Let everybody know what's coming from you, mate, because your level's up. I think a lot of us are envious, but also proud of what you're doing, and looking forward to more content. So tell everybody more about it.
Yeah, I mean, I was MIA. I had to move, so people know. So I was MIA for probably a good two. I mean, I was here and there, maybe once a week for the last 2 or 3 weeks, but you haven't really seen me, frequently anywhere. But I've got the thing set up. It's I would say it's probably about 96% rocking right now. I mean, this is a new view that people haven't seen before.
Looks great. The gear. That's the rig right there.
That's the gear view.
That's the nerd. That's the nerd
Brian,
view. That's the nerd view for us.
Is that Brian Hill on your desk?
No, we got Son over here, and this is Harry Kane, who's covered up by my monitor.
Nice. Good stuff.
But no, I mean, so you guys will start seeing me more often, not only on Will Stewart THFC Rants, but also on other channels as well. I'll be making, my appearances like I was before. Still unpacking in the new place. This was the first place that I unpacked. I did get in trouble for that, by the way, from my wife. But it's, ask for forgiveness later rather than for permission, right? So giving you guys the priority, and we'll see you guys on all over the place. So check us out.
Nice one. So Will Stewart THFC Rants. Check him out. Fantastic stuff. Great content coming out. Absolute pleasure, guys. Thanks for filling in for Bri. He's obviously not feeling very well. So shout out to you, Bri, if you're watching. You might be in the comments, or you might watch this on another day. And thanks everybody for watching. As you know, Tottenham On Tour is sort of an extension of what Tottenham Away was. We are rebuilding a new channel. We had to separate for specific reasons that were suitable for both channels. Those guys are continuing. Everything's still all good. We're going to appear on their channel. They're going to appear on ours. But we do want to get our numbers up to where we had gotten them up to, and where they are now. It's about 1,500. So like and subscribe, please, and pass it on to anybody else who's a Spurs fan. Get it on Twitter, all those other things, because we want to grow as quick as possible. We will be investing similar to what Will Stewart's doing when it comes to his studio. We've got some great content coming out. Obviously, Danny's show, and then we've got a really special program we're working on right now that's going to be hilarious and a lot of fun to do. That'll be out in about a month. So anyways, like and subscribe, and look for our next show coming up probably on Monday with Dan's show. It might be released Tuesday because we're going to record it Monday. So look for that, and have a good weekend. And come on, you Spurs, let's please just keep the ball rolling. We had a shit day yesterday, expectedly, but let's have a good day Sunday. And thanks for watching.
Just for Brian Daigle,
yeah.
Levy out.
Levy out. Exactly. Yeah. We'll leave it on that. Cheers, guys. Have a good one.
Tottenham On Tour.